I had a conversation a while ago with this sister, and while we were talking, we had quite a number of people there too. And while we were talking, she was emphatic on the fact that there are certain classes of people she cannot flow with. So, being a very inquisitive person, I asked that she should, elucidate on that. And she said to me that if she's running a conversation with someone and she says her target for the year is to make $20 billion or $20 million, and the person responds with the fact that what he's trying to achieve is 500,000, that she disconnects from such people. Well, at the time I felt that was rather harsh. And why would you just disconnect with this person? Possibly this person is trying to relate with what is possible with him or her, and his reality is different from your reality. But on a second thought, I began to see how that everything we get to say, everything that poses as a fear, everything that poses as a possibility, is tied to the development of our mind. How much we nurture our mind will go a long way to impact on the quality of our lives. Once again, I want to welcome you to PV Musings, and it's great to have you here again. Today, I'll start a teaching series on the state of the mind. One of the major things that we learned at elementary basis, whether you're a religious person or you're not, is the fact that man is principally a spirit being. Man has a soul, man lives in a body. Now, you understand that for those who are spiritual or religious, your spirit being is what is required for you to communicate with God. Either in your worship, your fellowship, or your prayer, the communication principally. Your spirit being is what is engaged. And so, accessing anything spiritual is done primarily at the spirit level. When you want to interact with the spirit world, for those who believe that the spirit world exists, having two compartments of light and darkness, also your spirit man is what is involved. When you want to function best with mankind or walk in the face of the earth, you need a body. Your body is like your passport to gain access to this world. The school of thought believes that you have no right working the face of the earth without a body. So that school of thought does not believe in ghosts, as they are made up stories. The only right spirits have to exist in this world is to possess a body, a vessel. They can even possess a cockroach. As long as it's a vessel, a body, that's the passport to functioning on the earth. However, that person would just look like a robot if he just has a body and a spirit. And the soul will have the mind, we have the will, we have the emotions. The will of man is what really commands ability to get things done. I will. It's like exerting your right to do things, exerting your opinion about something. That's about the will. Your emotions are tied to reactions to things, and this could stem from a point of lack, abundance, depending on the situation of things. So mankind has learned how to smile, has learned how to cry, has learned how to react to hunger, has learned how to react to certain things. And that's just about it as regards emotions. And so anyone without an emotion, well, is tempted to have certain issues. Now, the last part of it is the mind. And the mind is where a lot of things happen. The mind is like a storage capacity, and it's very expandable. It doesn't have a particular size. The mind takes the size of the exposure of the one handling it. The mind helps you interpret or stands as a middleman between what happens in your spirit and what you can implement in this world. The mind gives a sense of direction to your body. The mind gives a sense of validity to this passport you carry around, which is the body. A lot of things can influence how developed a mind can be. Nature can, nurture can. By nurture, I mean environment where the person grows. Now, from cradle stage, every man and woman is exposed directly or indirectly to things that would develop or hamper the growth of the mind. Now, if you are saying that the mind actually determines how a person ends, we're simply saying that with or without the implementation of your spirit man or engagement of your spirit man, the development of your mind can determine a lot. So from conversations, people get to learn languages, people get to learn to love people. It is all tied to the development of the mind. Maybe that's just a subtle part. If you want to run holy, you say that it's a development of the soul. Now, your mind is a very significant tool where it can stretch so much because there is no actual limit to the mind. And that is why I said earlier on, every capacity or size placed to the mind of a man is tied to the one he placed to it. There is nothing the mind naturally finds as impossible until the mind is exposed to a measure of impossibility. There is nothing that will serve as a limitation until the mind of a man sees or confronts something that looks like a limitation. Why would a man try to invent the bulb, the electric bulb? It tries over 999 times, failed, and the 1000th time got it right. That persistence is tied to a development of his mind. And every time he fails and tries again, he's telling his mind that failure is not an option. So it doesn't matter the number of times he failed. It really matters the development happening in his soul and specifically in his mind. So it's not a function of the things that we're exposed to. It's a function of what happens within us. So it's not about the eyes that see. It's not about the ears that hear. It's about what it is causing, what change it is affecting in our hearts. Well, I had a course a couple of years ago in school. I think it was Sociology 345. It was called Population Problems. And one of the first things the lecturer asked us is that, what is a problem? Guess what? We all came up with different perspectives of what a problem is. And most of our perspectives were pretty wrong and pretty biased. By bias, I mean most of us said, I'm not sure I really heard anyone say anything alternative to what we said. Most of us had the opinion that anything that we call a problem is bad. Again, the reason why we would naturally respond that way to say that a problem is something that is bad is because our minds from cradle stage till the stage of the measure of growth we have attained has been trained to believe, that anything that is called a problem must be negative. Stay with me. It means that the kind of exposure that we yield our minds to determines the measure of possibility that we can embrace, of the measure of impossibility that we come to believe. Now, let me stretch it further. How did we come to believe that when you shoot a person with a gun, the person would die? I know what you're thinking. The reason why you are thinking it is because a picture has been painted to you. Not just because the picture has been painted, you also have exposed your mind to situations where some people were shot and the next response was that life oozed out of the person. And so it has shaped your mind that when you find a man with gun, when he shoots you, you should die. Can you also tweak your mind to see a situation and a possibility where a person is shot and the person is still living? The bullets possibly penetrated, bruised the person, bruised the flesh, and yet the person still survived it. Oh yeah, it's a miracle, right? Again, once it surpasses what you can fathom, we tend to use the word miracle to qualify it. So, we begin to place some measure of class, some measure of restriction to possibilities around us, tied to one singular thing: the exposure of your mind. I can drag this discourse even through the course of the state of a man, the status quo of a man, the financing of a man, the wealth of a man, the riches of a man. I'm possibly going to talk about that in some episodes here while talking about the mind. You will come to see how that wealth is not primarily about possession. Wealth is first about the posture of your heart. If all a man has in terms of wealth is financial rewards, such a man would end up being poor. And that is why the rich don't stay rich because they have money or they keep money or they run business. The rich stay rich because they built their mind to walk towards riches or to tend towards riches. The same thing, no matter the level of a poor man, if his mind is not built, no matter how much you give to him, he's going to come back to poverty. So poverty is not first a state of a pocket, of an account. Poverty is first a state of a mind. The state of a mind always plays out in the accounts, always plays out in the pocket. The state of a mind always plays out in the quality of things to use, in the apparel, in the discourse. You would see it. Now, one of those stories or one of those writings I saw in scripture when he says that for those who are saved, okay, that the believer is seated with Christ in heavenly places far above principalities and powers. Now, the word far is also relative to the exposure of your mind. Nigeria to Ghana is far. Nigeria to South Africa is farther. Nigeria to Algeria is also far. Nigeria to UK is far. Nigeria to the Philippines is far. So the word far is now relative to your exposure. So I'm asking you, how far is your far? So when the person says to you, how are you? And you say fine. Fine is relative. How fine are you? I've heard someone say that I am broke. And the measure of, or the state of accounts of this person saying he's broke is about 32 million naira. So with 32 million naira in your account, you say you're broke. Meanwhile, when someone else says I'm broke, what is interpreted in his heart is the fact that there's no transport fare, there's no money to fuel your car, there's nothing to live by, I'm going to die the next minute. Exposure begins to change your perspective about things. It begins to shape your mind. And hear me well. The mind of a man is like a safe place. You can put just anything there, and you can, whether good or bad, you can install. Your mind is just a receiver. It's just like, I'm sorry to use the word, it's like a refuse dump. You can dump just anything there, and nothing saved there will just get, trashed. You can't say that, don't worry, I'm just taking information, it's not going to harm me, it's not going to hurt me. No, eventually you will find it surviving in your conversation. You will find it surfacing in the beliefs that you have eventually. So what am I saying? This is just an introduction to this episode on the posture of your mind, or the quality of your mind. Your mind and the state of your mind would affect the way you think. And the way you think would affect the quality of your life. The quality of your life will determine the measure of impact, or the level of impact that you can have in your society. I know that I sounded a little bit philosophical, in this conversation, but it's all geared to stretch your mind a little. And I look forward to sharing more with you. I look forward to your feedbacks. We're going to talk about the mind. It's going to be an interesting one. I know it's actually interesting to me already. Again, this is PV Musings. I look forward to hearing from you. Send me a mail, pvmusings@gmail.com. God bless you. Have a great one.